Hello, people. I am so happy today because it's another round table on the channel, and we have amazing people here. One of the greatest ones on YouTube and TikTok and no socials. And we're going to talk about the way they teach, how they teach, because we have teachers, we have students, we have undergraduates. And we're going to start with the introductions with Dane.
What's up, guys? My name is Dane. I am an English teacher originally from Lima, Peru, but I've been living in Spain for the last 20 years.
Lawrence.
My name is Lawrence. I'm from England, but now I live in Malaysia. I teach online on Coffee Cup English. I've also taught before this in China and Colombia.
Here we also have Mike.
Hey, I'm Mike. I'm from the UK. I recently moved back to the UK after living in Spain for like 5.5 years. I'm now teaching online as well as trying to sort of launch my own YouTube and TikTok and things like that.
Nikita.
Well, guys, I'm Nikita, and I'm living in Russia at the moment, and also I'm a learner of English.
Sam.
Hello, guys. I'm Sam from Italy. I'm currently in Verona because I'm doing my traineeship. I'm still a student at the University of Amsterdam, but I'm doing my traineeship here in northern Italy, Verona. And I'm also an English teacher. I teach at Green School Verona, but also online.
Let's get cracking, all right? The first question is, what English learning activities do you do in a classroom and why you do them? Dane, please.
What English learning activities?
Yes.
Man, there's a lot. I'm gonna go with one that's a bit out of left field. I like to play video games with kids, and because like they're doing it anyways. It's hard to get a kid to sit down and give them some like, here, this is the formula for past tense if you want to use whatever. So a lot of times, especially now online, I love to play, like I'll like download an emulator and play Pokemon with a kid. And he has to read everything, tell me what to do. Words we don't know, we'll stop and like look them up. And I think it's kind of like a little shortcut. It's a little shortcut for them because you're taking something they're already interested in and just using that as a vehicle. You know, I find that it's harder. It's harder if you're trying to force things. So I like to go with the flow and use the things that my students are already into as an in, you know.
Lawrence?
Well, you could say I'm very much into role play. Take that how you want. So with my business class, at the end of every class, we will do a task that is related to the subject or the vocabulary we were teaching. And the idea is that I prepare my students for every kind of real work situation where they would need English. So that could be sales meetings or sales presentations or hiring and firing, negotiating a better salary. It could be a board meeting. It could be imagining they are trying to get investment for a new startup company. And I try to make it as serious as possible. I feel with role play, it can, if you don't take it too seriously, it can all be a bit kind of jokey. But if you have like the extra materials prepared, you know, for example, you give genuine CVs that they have to compare and they have to discuss, and you as a teacher take it very seriously and treat them as the roles that they are playing. You know, if somebody is the manager, you treat them with that deference and respect to make them feel like the manager. It gets them in the zone more, and the role play is more authentic and more beneficial.
Mike?
I think I take a similar sort of attitude to Dane. I try to have like structured debate about things that my students are interested in. And quite often with the teenagers and the children, it's video games. So an example is yesterday, I was talking to some 8-year-old Chinese boy who loves Pokemon. And I quite like Pokemon myself. So we had a whole half-an-hour class about how Pikachu isn't as good as Meowth or something like that. It's two Pokemon. And it's good because the children quite often don't feel confident, or they don't realize that their vocabulary is as good as it is. But suddenly when you talk about something that they know about, especially when you're an adult and you look maybe similar to their parents, they don't expect you to have the same interest as them. It kind of makes them come out of their shell a lot more, and it makes them, I think it surprises them quite often how capable they can be. So I try to use structured debates focused around the interests of the student.
Nice.
Awesome. Nikita.
Well, guys, I think that I would say music comes in handy when we speak about learning English. And well, I'm hosting an event right now. It's all about lyrics breakdowns. So how we do it is basically this. We take a song and we, kind of listen to it. Then we break it apart. Then we, maybe find some words or something that is really interesting, maybe a phrase. We talk about the artist, and we might listen to it again. And, it just helps people, firstly, to get familiar with the culture. Then you can learn some new vocabulary. Also, you have to speak with each other. So it's basically speaking as well, and listening. So there are lots of different things that you could learn, and people get quite surprised because, when you see a song, you might not really understand it, or maybe appreciate it. But you can do all of this by listening to it and breaking it in parts.
Awesome.
So that's it.
Sam.
For me, it's all about descriptions, really, because the input that we have in our mind comes from the outside, right? From the environment. Okay, so I usually give to my students pictures, lots of pictures that can be differently organized. Sometimes there are a pair of pictures they have to compare. Sometimes it's just a sort of diagram that they have to solve, and I'm going to be the one describing a sort of situation that they have to debate about, right? And I feel like that's a really good technique, because at the end of the day, what you want to communicate is what you see in the outside, right? And so you want to share what you feel, your feelings about what's on the outside, and try and process it from the inside out. So description of photograph that they have to compare, and then connect them with personal experiences, because for sure there is going to be something in that picture that relates to them. And it's I think a good technique to first talk about something that is objective, so what you see in the picture, although there is room for speculation, because you actually don't know what actually is the situation, the exact situation, and then connect it with personal experiences.
Awesome. So here comes question number 2. Is listening important in language acquisition? What is the best way to practice it? Dane, please.
Is listening important in language? Hugely important. I guess it's important with everything. Whether it's like relationships or anything. I don't know. Listening is something that you definitely can work on. Like active listening, right? Passive listening, you need a little bit of both. I find that while listening, I do a podcast. English with Dane knows that's my main thing. So I try to make it as easy as possible for people to just to be able to listen. And I want them to learn how I learned, kind of just like being in a comfortable environment where language isn't excessively complicated and stuff. I feel like listening is something that kind of comes easy to people.
Yes.
Specifically when you compare it to production. like listening is fine. People watch TV shows in English, people watch movies, people listen to music, people listen to podcasts and all that stuff. So I think listening is one of the aspects that people have most readily available, and there's a lot of content, but it pales in comparison to production, which I find like the real hard step, you know. And we talked about this, Rod, with my Portuguese. Like, I don't really speak Portuguese. I'm trying to learn, but it's making that jump, you know, making that jump to say, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to make some mistakes. Here it comes. I'll sound stupid. It doesn't matter. Listening is a safe thing. You know, you can get frustrated because you don't understand something because it's too fast. The content is too rich or too specific for an industry, whatever it is. But while listening is important, I think that's one of the ones that comes easiest to people, not just because things are available, but because it's not invasive. You know, it's not like, I don't know. I hope you guys get that.
I agree. No, we got it. Lawrence.
For me, actually, listening comes the hardest. It's like I can say if it's a language I'm learning, when I'm producing, when I'm speaking, I'm in control of it. You know, I can talk about something that I'm comfortable with using words that I know. As soon as somebody replies to me, then I'm in trouble, because then he's not following my rules. He's not following my vocabulary that I know. he's going, you know, off track. And I'm like, no, let's bring it back to the words I know. But in terms of helping or improving listening, one thing I always recommend is audiobooks of a book that you are familiar with. Ideally one that you have read multiple times, but not so recently that it's boring for you, but one that you've read multiple times in your own language, so that when you're listening, although you may have no idea what they're saying, just there'll be one word or one name or one city or something that will then bring you back. Oh, I know what's happening here. And your brain sort of, you know, creates the rest. One thing I have noticed about listening is especially with watching movies and TV and, you know, Netflix and everything with subtitles, I think a lot of the time people think they are practicing their listening skills when really all they're doing is reading. And suddenly you turn off subtitles and then it turns from them speaking perfectly to at least that's my experience with it as well. Definitely watching TV with subtitles and watching TV without subtitles, you are practicing two different skills there, I think. Yeah. Both valuable though.
I agree. Mike.
Yeah, I think listening skills and improving your listening skills are very, very, very important. I think a lot of students, at least in my experience, can get quite frustrated with listening because they compare it to reading, and they quite often would read a text and they'd understand maybe 90% of it, and then they'd Google Translate the rest of it, so they'd understand 100% of it. And I think people get frustrated sometimes when they hear something and they don't understand every single word, or maybe there's this phrasal verb that they don't quite understand, or something like that. So I think for that reason, it's very easy to lose confidence in your own listening abilities. I think as well, for me, I think Lawrence just mentioned it then about audiobooks and things like that. For me, something that I do to help my students is I would speak to their parents and I'd say to their parents, I want you to make sure that they do something in English this week. So quite often with the teenagers or the children, they tell me, I'm only allowed to play video games for 1 hour this week. So I'll tell their parents they have to play for 2 hours, but it has to be in English. So then they are sort of passively hearing the English in the correct context, hopefully, and kind of without realizing they're enjoying it and they're improving. I've had some weird looks when I've told that to parents before, but the kid always improves, the kid always does better, and I am always the kid's favorite teacher because I send them homework, which is to play video games.
Nikita.
Actually, I agree with Mike. I mean, it's a really, really great way. And the thing you said about hanging on every word. So people might hear something and they don't get it. And it's kind of a big deal, you know, for some people. but if you listen to someone and hang on every word, I mean, you are not going to be a very good speaker, are you? And well, I think it's hugely important. Yeah, it's just vital, I think, to be able to listen to a person, to understand him. It's all about what English really is, or any language is, to understand people. And well, I think podcasts are just great. You can listen to it everywhere. You know, you can listen to it as long as you want to. You can find something that you like, and it's really, really personal.
As fast as you want to.
Of course,
you know, because you can change the speed. I listen to Dane in the highest speed that I can.
And it's really personal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you take your headphones and you spend some time with it. That person is talking directly to you.
Yeah.
And it's really, really powerful, I think.
Yeah. And you get used to the person's accent as well, you know? Sam, you're next.
Oh, where I was getting exactly. So about the context, right? You cannot really understand every word that a person is saying, not even if you are a native, I think. Yeah, sometimes it happens. You come from the same neighborhood, from the same city, all right? But it's also a matter of accents. And so what people misunderstand when they're learning English, for instance, is that they have to understand every single word, right? When this doesn't actually happen among natives as well, either, right? So, yeah, I think that there should be a shift on the focus, understanding the context, the situation, as opposed to all of it. And talking about what Coffee Cup said, about English subtitles, I definitely agree. And I think that the same formula that you apply with audiobook can be applied with films as well. Because imagine that, for me, is actually like a process. You first watch a movie with your native language subtitles, and then you watch a movie with the foreign language subtitles, and then you watch a movie without subtitles at all. And I think that by doing this process, if you, for example, do it with a film that you watched quite some time ago, but you can at least remember it, right? You can have some connections, as you said, when you watch it again without subtitles. And that might actually start some mechanisms in your mind. So definitely a good practice. So watching films with foreign subtitles and then trying to remove it slowly. It's a process, and don't get discouraged. If you, as long as you understand the whole context, then you can move on to removing the whole thing. Definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to say something real quick about what you just said.
Go ahead.
I couldn't agree with more, man. Like, and it also it's to do with what Rod said. So I have students listen to my podcast, and like you're saying, Rod, they get used to my accent, right? And they feel like they understand me completely. And then they'll get a teacher that's from Australia, and they're like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know? And it happens all the time. I had a friend at work, a fellow teacher who's from London, and we were like friends, we're all good. And then one day we went out for drinks, and a few drinks in, he started really letting loose and just being his full London self. And I'd just be thinking like, man, like there's like 4 words out of every 10 that I'm just like, I'm not really understanding. And I couldn't agree more, man. Like it's about context. It's about like tone, even body language. It's about everything, right? So I think people do put a lot of pressure on themselves. Like, so I need to understand every single word that's being said, because if not, my level's not good enough. And it's a whole confidence thing. And yeah, I think that's a sick message, Sam. Like, you're not going to understand everything. No one does. It's okay. Just relax.
Yeah. And also about the body language that you just mentioned. It's very important to kind of revolutionize, let's say, the way that listening is taught. Because if you think about it, we listen to CDs. There are still people listening to CDs, and companies such as Cambridge University, right? They still have old school exams with CDs, and there's no people, there's no body language, there's no like the mouth moving or anything, all those factors that then in real life have to be taken into account, right? And then we're still stuck to this old-fashioned way And I think it should change for the reason you just mentioned. Definitely.
Awesome. And the last question of the day, how do accents affect language acquisition? Is it good or a bad thing that English is such a diverse language? Dane.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a continuation of what we were just talking about, right? I think you need to get used to picking. You need to like just train your ear to be flexible, man. Like it's so tricky. I live here in Spain, right? And someone from Madrid, I'll understand 100% or 99%. And then I'll go down south and I'll be a little bit lost. I'll go up north, be a little bit lost. No one's going to get it. I think you have to expose yourself to as many different accents as possible. And something that I always recommend is try to like imitate accents, even if you're terrible, even if you suck at it. Like find a character in a movie that you like that has that Southern twang. Find someone from Liverpool. Like maybe there's like, I don't know, a fighter or someone that you like that's from Liverpool. Watch interviews and just kind of try to imitate what they do, how their like vowel sounds different, how they do these consonants, how they, and just, I think it's just a matter of time before you get good at it. I like to play what we call accent challenges. So I'll find clips from like news stories, like anchors, different things from around the world. And I'll put them on my show and just be like, hey, just try to guess where it's from. It doesn't matter if you're wrong or right. Just, it's about listening and being like, hey, he sounds Australian. It's like, no, man, he's Irish. And you're like, oh, but it's who cares, and I think curiosity is key there. Curiosity is key. You want to find out what people sound like. Oh, why does this guy sound like this? It's so crazy. Oh, he's from New Zealand. Oh man. Okay. I would have never thought, so curiosity and just, I think keeping your cool, like you won't understand anyone. Just do your thing.
If you allow me to put my 2 cents in, I learned English. I started learning English when I was 7 years old. And I was crazy about Madonna, as all of you know. And once I went to the States and I was in New York, and the guy asked me, I know that you're a foreigner, but you speak very good English. And are you from Michigan? And at the moment, it didn't dawn on me because Madonna is from Michigan. Madonna's from Detroit. So as I was mimicking Madonna in the 80s, because I'm a carbon dating person learning English, we didn't have all the devices that we have today to practice English. So I did exactly what you said, mimicking. I wanted to say that because it was really funny. I said, no, I'm a Brazilian, but I learned English with someone from Michigan. Lawrence.
Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting question. Actually, to help me with this answer, if I could ask Dane and Sam to pronounce the word beginning with W that means H2O.
Water.
And Sam?
Water.
Right. So clearly at some point you diverted. Dane went down the American accent route, Sam went down the British accent route, and both very, very successfully as well. I think, it's sometimes, teachers are very, we don't want to say, oh, you have to sound British, you have to sound American. Obviously you don't. I do believe you have to make a choice though. At some point, you have to make a decision, because if Dane was speaking and then suddenly water came out of his mouth, it would be incongruous to hear. Likewise, the reverse with Sam. And I think how you make that decision, I think there's a few factors involved. Sort of your native language is certainly an issue. Your first teachers, if you have that inspiration, like Dane was talking about, that person that you love listening to. For example, I had a student who was just crazy about Emma Watson. And it's like, she's never going to speak American English because she watches Emma Watson, videos all the time, and she's developing that British accent. So yeah, I think it's very interesting. I love accents. I think it's a beautiful thing. How boring would the world be if we all had the same accent? Yeah. But I do think it is something that you have to consider at some point in your language learning journey. Which accent are you going to go for?
I totally agree. Mike.
Yeah, I think for me, the conversation of accents is a very kind of difficult one, I guess, for me to answer because my English accent is very specific. I'm from a place called Yorkshire. So going back to water, I'd say water. Personally, I kind of don't say the T. I think when it comes to learning a language, like what I think Lawrence said, you kind of have to pick which accent you choose. And I think at the very start of language learning, it's a hard thing to do because you have your regular voice, and then to try and sound Spanish, for example, it sounds very awkward. It feels very awkward to you. So you get a lot of British people who would, instead of saying like quiero, would say quiero or something like that, and it irks me a little bit, but at the same time, it is what it is. You know. I think the fact that there are so many different languages is both a help and a hindrance. I think it's a help because, in my personal opinion, there's no correct pronunciation of English. You know, there are 6 people here right now, and there are 6 different ways of saying water. So how can we say one is correct and one of them is incorrect? You know, there's also a hindrance, of course, because that's 6 different pronunciations a brand new learner is going to have to learn. So that's basically, in general, I think languages and accents in languages are all to be celebrated. So it doesn't really matter what you sound like as long as you're understandable.
Yeah. So Nikita, what do you think?
Well, accents, I mean, it's really, really beautiful. They're just wonderful, you know, as a thing, I mean. You know, everyone has their own way to say certain words, as you said, guys. And I think it's something that people should remember when they learn a language, because when you're learning a language, people usually tend to find a person, maybe, I don't know, a group of people, and they have this kind of stereotype that everyone is going to speak in the same way. And they basically get really shocked when they travel to somewhere when they, I don't know, watch a TV series from a different place. They're just shocked. And accents affect language learning. I don't know. It's just unbelievable how much they do that.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's something to remember. Just try to train your ear and listen to different people. Listen to something that you like, and always remember that there are different ways to say different things.
Sam?
Going back to your question, the original question was, does accent in general, the concept of accent or accents in general affect the English language? I think, no, that's the beauty of the language. That's a diversity, right? And this connects to another point, which is the deculturalization of English. There's this misconception, right, that English has to be spoken in the vast majority of countries, either American English or British English, right, which are the most dominant varieties of English. And the problem is that the language, well, it's not a problem. The fact is that the language is now used among foreigners, not necessarily to communicate with natives, right? And it is used for international communication.
Yes.
English is the lingua franca of the world. Therefore, there needs to be a sort of deculturalizations and a sort of demystification of this idea that you have to learn a native accent or native pronunciations, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, I think that taking a route or a route, for that matter, is, it's a consequence. It will happen because it just happens. I mean, it depends on the contents that you watch. It depends on the teachers that you had, the interests that you had. But that doesn't mean that the accent or the pronunciation is going to be regular. I, for example, speak British English because my best friend is from London and I've known her since I was 13 years old, right? But I had several professors from Australia, and so sometimes you'll see that my vowels open up a little bit. And then there are certain words that I actually pronounce in the Scottish variety. For example, the word character. I say character. I don't know why. Like, I have no idea why I say that, but I say this. You know why? Because I think it's loss. I think that's the name from Scotland. And yeah, he was using this word again and again, and I just picked it. So I think that, at some point you have a preference because that's what the society kind of imposed on you. But there is going to be that level of diversity. That's what characterizes the language, in my opinion. It's just beautiful to see, even though, it might sound weird, for example, for native speakers to have that kind of, oh my God, you're speaking with such an accent, and then you switch another accent for a word. Like, that sounds weird. Of course, from a native perspective, that is going to sound weird. But from a foreigner that's learning the language, maybe it's just going to sound like normal, because it's just a melange of things, of factors that just merge together, you know? And that's the way it is. I think that's the best way to go about it. Just learn the language and take as many things as you can from whatever source you have, basically.
Well, I totally agree. And I want to finish by saying that I would like to undersign what you guys have said. Everybody said wonderful things. And I did my master's degree in Spain in a small city called Jaén. I studied accent reduction. And once a person asked me, you don't like people's accents? I said, no, I love people's accents. If I didn't like people's accents, I would have studied accent elimination. So why did you study it? The person asked me. I said, I studied because I wanted to make the person to be encouraged to understand and to be understood better. And then I studied something called international English, because that's the name now. That's Lawrence's accent, that's Mike's accent, that's Dane accent, that's Nikita's accent, and there's Sam's accent. We all have different accents because we have our native languages. And I wanted to tell at the end of this round table that there are 3 people here who speak Portuguese besides me: Mike, Dane, and Lawrence. But Lawrence speaks Portuguese. You don't? I saw a video of you speaking Portuguese.
I speak British Portuguese, I think.
British Portuguese. Okay, that's a nice one. That's awesome. But I wanted to finish this round table by saying that it was awesome. I hope you guys liked the interviews that I have with you on my channel. Are amazing. People enjoy it. The one with Dane hasn't gone on the channel yet, and also Nikita's has just recorded, but please bear with me because I do everything on my own. To finish, I would like to tell you that I am really ecstatic to have you guys here because I really admire every single one of you. When I see Lawrence live, I'm there just to say hello. When I see Sam live, I'm there. Dane, I listen to every single podcast that he does. Mike, everything that he puts on his social media, I'm there to check. I am a real fan of yours. Thank you so much for being here. And before we go, please plug yourselves.
You guys can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all that stuff. It's English with Dane. I put out weekly episodes. It's primarily focused towards Spanish speakers because I translate a few things into Spanish and just kind of in general speak in a way that Spanish speakers can really pick up like nuances and everything. You can also find me on Instagram at English with Dane, TikTok at English with Dane, just being a little bit ridiculous, or, you know, you guys know how TikTok is. So yeah, English with Dane, anywhere you.
And anywhere you can. Lawrence.
Yeah, you can find me on TikTok, Coffee Cup English, producing hopefully educational videos for the 1 minute attention generation.
Mike.
Yeah, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube with English with Mike. You can kind of see it right here. There we go. I'm trying to sort of just, I guess, teach people, give people little snippets. Yeah, it's fun. It's exciting. Come and check me out.
Of course. Nikita.
Oh, well, guys, you can find me. Well, basically, if you go through that link and you look for the events there and you find lyrics breakdowns, so just you can come and check it out, you know. We are there every 2 weeks.
Yes. You're talking about Learn English Online Discord server.
Exactly.
Which
that
I am there with an event as well every 2 weeks. I have the link down below in my description box. And what about you, Sam?
Well, you can find me on TikTok. I'm Briskovich08. The C in the end is Briskovich is a C, it's not a K. It just sounds very Croatian, I know, but that's a whole story behind it. I'll explain it. I'm thinking about changing it actually to my name and surname, but yeah, we'll see about that. And yeah, same thing goes for Instagram, Briskovich08. O meaning 0, not O, but yeah, Briskovich08. That's my channel.
Well, to whatever you need me for, I'll be here for you. This round table was amazing. And I want to finish this video in a different way. I don't consider you YouTube buddies or mates or whatever word you want to check. I consider you friends, true friends, you know, because the pandemic has made me learn and forced me and put my ugly face on the screen to record things. And I hope that one day when this pandemic is over, when everything's over, we can have meet and greet, everybody together somewhere in the world. Maybe you can come to Brazil because it's the cheapest of all, and we can meet.
Not to get there, Rod.
Yeah, not to get there.
Yeah. It will be a pleasure for me to meet you guys in person. Guys, this was the round table for today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you so much, and peace.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Hello, it's Rod's friend here, Gino from Real Everyday English. Sorry for interrupting your video. I just want to make a quick recommendation that you subscribe to Rodrigo's channel. He's an amazing guy. He's so humble, he's so dedicated, and he creates absolutely fantastic content. See you people soon. Bye-bye. God bless.